So how would you like for your teenager to always use good judgment, to be considerate of others, and to be someone you can count on to act responsibly? I mean, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? Well, hello everyone. My name is Jim White, and I'm an author, coach, and the founder of the Family Enrichment Academy. But more importantly, I'm a parent just like you. My wife and I, we've raised 6 children, so we've been into and through those teenage years. Well, today we're going to be revealing the number 5 item on our top 10 list of things you need to stop doing as a parent with a teenager. And we'll share what you can do instead. Now this is going to have a huge impact on your teenager being able to grow into that responsible and considerate adult. So let's check it out. Now before we dive into that number 5 item, I did want to let you know I have a free resource for you. And this is along the same theme of things you need to stop doing and what you can do instead. I have 10 questions you should never ask your teenager. Think of these as like conversation killers. And then I have 10 great questions as well. These are the conversation starters. Now this resource is available at our website, familyenrichmentacademy.com, and I'll put a link down in the description below as well, so be sure to check that out. So let's move on to our number 5 item on our list of top 10 things you need to stop doing as a parent with a teenager. So the number 5 item on our list, I'm going to ask that you stop blaming your teenager. And what I want you to do instead is I want you to set high expectations. So let's take a look at an example of what this might look like and how this works with your teenager. Let's say you have a teenage son, 14-year-old son, and he has a few of his friends over on a Saturday afternoon to play some video games. Well, some lighthearted trash talking turns into a little bit of wrestling, and before you know it, your son and one of his friends, they roll off the couch, but they bump into the table that's sitting right in front of them and knock a red Gatorade off that table, spilling it onto the carpet. Myself having 2 teenage sons, can you tell I'm speaking from some experience here? So the boys make an attempt to clean up the carpet, and then they develop a plan. The plan is to act like nothing happened and just hope that it goes unnoticed. So the next day, you notice the stain on the carpet, and you have a pretty good idea of what happens. And then your teenage son walks into the room, and as he walks in, the thought of the stain in your mind, there's just this overwhelming feeling of frustration, disappointment, and anger. And before you know it, you sort of lash out, that spills out of you, and you say something like, "You guys spilled that Gatorade yesterday on the carpet, didn't you?" So this is an example of blaming your teenager. You accuse them of doing something inconsiderate or irresponsible. Now I want you to think for a minute about all the different scenarios or circumstances where this could pop up, where you could feel that frustration and you could blame your teenager. It could be a bad grade on a test, or maybe you discover a new dent in the door of your car. Or what about those dirty dishes that are left in the sink? Or possibly a sibling, maybe they're missing some clothes out of their closet. All of these are examples of where you might have that urge to blame your teenager. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You're saying, but they did something wrong. I've got to call them out on this, don't I? So remember though, I've been there as well. I've acted out of that frustration and blamed my teenagers when something like this has happened. But what I have to share today is that experience has taught me that this is not the most effective way to approach these kind of situations if the goal is to empower your teenager to be more considerate and to be more responsible as they grow into their adult years. Blaming them just communicates the message that they are a bad person. It reinforces a self-image of them being irresponsible or not very considerate of others. So here's what I recommend instead. When something like this happens, the first job for you is to regain your composure. Now, it may be helpful if you reconnect with your intention to empower your teenager to be more responsible and be more considerate as an adult. Doing that will help you to regain that composure. And then what I want you to do is share your high expectations for them. So here's an example of what that might sound like in this scenario we've been talking about where the red Gatorade was spilled on the carpet. You could say something like this. You know, you're growing into a young man, and you know, you're smart, and you have the ability to take a leadership role with your friends. That being said, I expect you to be more aware of your surroundings and to be able to tell when things are maybe getting a little out of hand. You know, as the leader, it's part of your job is to be that voice of reason. Can you see how this sets a completely different tone than blaming them From here, you're in a position to use those empowerment coaching skills that we teach here at the Family Enrichment Academy to discuss the lessons learned and to develop a plan for the next time and a way to avoid getting into a similar situation. And equally as important, you can develop a plan for making amends for what's already happened. So the number 5 item on our list is to make the shift from blaming your teenager into setting those high expectations. Now this is going to be a critical step in your journey as a parent as well as your teen's journey into a considerate and responsible adult. Well, before we sign off today, I did want to remind you that I do have that free resource for you, those 10 questions you should never ask your teen, and then those 10 great questions as well. So be sure to check that out. As always, it's truly an honor to be able to serve and support you as you move along your parenting journey, and it is a journey. And I just want to acknowledge you for your willingness to step into and have that growth mindset, step into that growth possibility. It just is going to be critical to getting through these teenage years. Until next time, remember, a change in perspective changes everything.